All right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Great Scott Podcast. Today, I am joined by the daughter of legendary entertainer Dean Martin. I'm pleased to welcome Deana Martin. How's it going, Deana?
Everything is good. Thank you very much. How's it going for you?
I'm good. We're actually not that far away, as we both just discovered. We're both right around the corner from one another.
Yes, we are. And, we're on the first fairway here in Branson. And so maybe we'll go play some golf sometime.
Absolutely. So tell us, and you're also the author of a book called This is What Memories Are Made Of. And you talk about
Memories are made of this, Dean
memories
Martin through his daughter's eyes. Yes.
And so tell us, what was it like being Dean Martin's daughter? I'm sure there was never a lack of entertainment inside the house.
I know it was a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. Because what you saw, when you saw that Dean Martin, that's who he was. He was just fun and nice. Thank you. And, imagine I grew up, my first 9 years of my life, because my parents were divorced and my dad had remarried and he had, three kids. And so I was with my sisters and brother and mom, and we moved around a little. But then when we went to live with my dad when I was 9, it was quite something. You're this big, beautiful house in Beverly Hills, and 2 more brothers and another sister. But it was so much fun. It really was. So adjusting, was tough. But my dad and my mom and my stepmom, Jeannie, who I call mom, of course, she raised me. She made it so nice for all of us. It was pretty amazing that she could do that at such a young age, be married and have her own 3 children, then to take, my dad's other 4 children, pretty spectacular.
And that house that you guys grew up in still stands today, right? You can drive by it, and because I think it's
Yes,
gated, but
absolutely.
yeah,
601 Mountain Drive.
yeah,
And
that's where a lot of celebrities lived at.
yes, exactly. So, in that whole area above Sunset in Beverly Hills. And but it was quite something to have Dean Martin as your dad.
I bet, yeah, absolutely. So he was the king of cool off stage as well as on stage.
Yes, he was. In fact, that's, Elvis Presley named him that.
Oh, okay.
My dad took us to a Paramount. I think I was 9. Yeah, very young. And he took my sisters and myself to Paramount Studios. He was making a movie. And we're standing out in front because the studios, the dressing rooms were out on little bungalows. So my sisters and I were standing out in front of Dad's bungalow. And I see this man come riding up on a bicycle. And as he gets close, I see it's Elvis Presley. He gets off the bike, I'm like, oh my gosh. And, he knelt down, he took my little hand in his. He said, because, we were introduced to him. He said, Deana, they call me the king of rock and roll. I love your dad. He's the king of cool.
Oh,
Oh, and he was holding my hand, and I said, breathe, Deana. It was Elvis Presley, for heaven's sakes, who said, my dad was the king of cool. And it stayed with me all these years.
now, unfortunately, Elvis's daughter had just passed away not that long ago. Did you know his daughter quite well?
I had met her not quite well. No, I knew all the Sinatra kids and Ricardo Montalban and Jerry's kids, but Lisa Marie I didn't know. What a shame. What a beautiful, lovely lady. And I had met her a couple times because we saw Elvis quite a bit, and
Sure.
but what a loss. It's tragic.
Now, I have to say, Dina, the celebrity roasts run on a constant basis inside of my house.
They were so funny, at Foster Brooks,
Oh, Foster Brooks.
oh my gosh, he was an airline pilot, when they're sitting in the bar, and it's so funny. But he was funny, and it was great fun for me to go down to the studio to see Dad, NBC, when he was doing the Dean Martin TV show, and meet all the people. And I did it, a few times. Of course, I was on the Dean Martin TV show, but those roasts were hysterical.
Oh, they are.
Absolutely hysterical.
The one person that stands out, and then well, the one person who stands out to me is Red Buttons. Never got a dinner.
Never got a dinner. Oh, he was funny. All those guys and the women were, amazing. Ruth Buzzy and Angie Dickinson. We're still friends with Angie, of course, and Ruth. And so the friendships that we made back then are still here today, touch wood.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
recently just had Ruta Lee on, actually.
I love Ruda. She is fat. She's wild.
Oh,
She
she's
is,
fantastic. Yeah,
she really is. She brings such life to the parties. And when we're
absolutely.
in, I think it's Palm Springs, right?
Yes.
I see her there, Rancho Mirage or Palm Springs, but she's a hoot. She really is funny.
Now these celebrity roasts are a little bit different anymore these days. What are your opinion? Or do you watch the celebrity roast whenever they come on?
Sometimes they're getting kind of crazy, these people,
Yes. Yeah.
but just rude and things like that. But I had, I'm trying to think how many years ago, might have been 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I did the Deana Martin celebrity roast. We did it in Las Vegas at the, I'm trying to think, I think the South Point, and we were roasting, the man of the hour was Joe Mantegna.
Okay.
And oh, he was great. And we had so many people came to roast him. And you know what, Joe Mantegna is such a nice, fabulous guy. It's hard to, kind of pick on him. But we did the best we could. And it was clean and nice. And it was just fabulous to do. And I have to go do those again. I'll have to do another one. And yeah, and I get, Mike Marino and
Sure.
Tommy Dreesen. Okay, so it's we get a good cast.
I hope you guys televise it or put it out on tape or something on the
Well,
internet.
we taped this one, and we'll have to figure that out, because a lot of when you have a lot of celebrities on, you have to get them
Yeah,
to say okay, to
absolutely.
sign a release. But in fact, you know what? I should just talk to all those people who are on it and try and release that one. It would be fun.
Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
Joe would say definitely yes.
Now, back in the 50s and 60s, and and even later on, your dad and Jerry were pretty much the biggest thing as far as entertainment goes. And someone wanted me to ask you, so what was it that kind of drove your dad and Jerry to not partner anymore? I mean, was there kind of a mutual agreement, or did it kind of just happen?
Well, I think, what happened is through the years, because, Jerry was so hands-on, you know what I mean? Jerry
Yeah.
was, he was my dear, and I adored him, I mean, absolutely. But he ended up kind of like driving my dad nuts, you know, with everything that he wanted to do. And dad said, just, okay, great. Because Jerry wanted to direct, write, produce, to handle the catering, you know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
So with my dad was just easy. Okay, it's all fine. And then finally, I think one of the things that um, when the split came was Jerry had asked dad, he wrote a movie, I can't remember the name of it. And my dad was playing a policeman in just a regular policeman. Dad said, well, you know what? I don't think I want to do this movie with you. Said, you know what? Maybe I could be a detective, and maybe I could come in sooner than halfway through the movie, because they were Martin and Lewis.
Right.
And Jerry said, well, that's what the part calls for. My dad said, well, you wrote it. So you can change that. But it was just time, they were unbelievable for those 10 years. I mean, just spectacular. And they had a good time together. And Jerry just idolized my dad. And dad thought that, Jerry was very funny. But it was time enough. It was 10 years, 10 great years. And they just wanted to go their separate ways.
And then they officially reconnected when Frank Sinatra came on Jerry's telethon, and there's your dad
Yes,
coming out from behind the curtain.
the MDA telethon. And he didn't tell us. Dad didn't tell us. And in fact, and we always would watch it. From day one, we would always watch the telethon from the time it was Martin and Lewis, because they're the ones who started it. And then, after a couple hours, they undo their bow ties and, I mean, really cute. And you watch the board, see how much money they're raising. And so we always watched it, even after the split. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the show, and all of a sudden, Frank Sinatra, Uncle Frank, walks out and says, I've got someone here who really likes what you do. He's come, and I see in the dark, I see my dad walk. Yeah, you could tell us walk anywhere.
Yeah.
I said, oh my gosh, he's there. And he comes in and he hugs him in that great line. And they said, so you've been working? in all those years. And Dad had, I think, the #1 TV show and every, all the hit movies and the
Yeah.
recordings and everything. And Jerry was so funny. And it was like they had never, parted. It was just,
Wow.
fabulous.
Yeah.
And Jerry was so happy. And I remember going down to the boat. He had his boat in Newport, I think. I think it was Newport. My husband and I went to see him. And because that's when I was writing my book, Memories Are Made of This, Dean Martin Through His Daughter's Eyes. So I called Jerry and asked him, if we can come down and talk. And he said, absolutely. So we go down, we're on the dock, and I see Jerry walking out and he goes, lady. I said, okay, I'm over here. Came over, he put his hands on my cheeks and he said, I see my partner.
Hmm.
And the tears were coming down his eyes. And so we spent the day with him and, on his boat. It was called the Samantha, named after his wife. And, he asked me questions and then he told me he was writing a book about he and my dad, Dean and me, a love story. He said, and I said, that's kind of creepy. He said, it's kind of funny. I said, it is kind of funny. And, so we were very good friends and I was on the, telethon with him. We sang time after time, the recording, and it's on my Memories Are Made of This album.
And his famous song, "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was a good singer,
Yeah.
from all that lady, so
Yeah.
he knew how to project.
Now, speaking of books, your book's going to be made into a picture.
Yes, we're still working. I'm in no rush. I want to have everything just right. And Bonnie Hunt, who adores Dean Martin, I think she would be very good. She's a great writer. Have you seen Return to Me, her movie?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a long time, but it's fabulous. And she adored Dean Martin. And then, of course, Joe Mantegna. The minute he got my book, he called me. He said, "Deana, I want to make the movie." And I said, "Oh, okay. Is there a movie?" He said, "I would love to do that," because he just adored my father. And he was so respectful when he was in the movie, when they did that Rat Pack movie. And he was fabulous. And so, we're in, I talk to him all the time. And so we'll try and figure it out.
Tell him to come do my podcast sometime.
Okay. I'll tell him that.
Okay. So, but speaking of your book, you had mentioned how it was kind of difficult at times to write the book, since you have lost a lot of family members. I know that your brother, when he passed away, that really kind of got to your dad, and that was kind of
Yes, it did. My brother Dino, but he was, Captain Dean Paul Martin, and that's he was such a good pilot, and it was tragic. But Dad, it really, you're not supposed to lose your kids. You're supposed to go before them, and but he had all of us around him, and we got him back out on the road, and as he did his show, and time heals all wounds, but it's something that would never, he will always have that. We all will always have that in our hearts, because Dean Paul was a great guy. He was a great tennis player. He was a good person. He was, he had Dino, Desi, and Billy, the rock and roll group. And he was just a spectacular guy. And he is still missed, of course, to this day.
And Desi being Desi Arnaz's and Lucy's son.
Yes, Desi Jr. Yeah,
Desi
he's
Jr.,
funny. We all went to school together.
Okay.
Billy Henchy, his sister Annie Henchy, we were in the same grade at Beverly Hills Catholic School, and Billy and Desi and Dino, they were all in the same grade, and so we were all very good friends. We all grew up together, and and I remember them, practicing, rehearsing out at the pool at our house on Mountain Drive in Beverly Hills, and they were pretty good, and they had a few hit songs. In fact, they made so much money, these three cute guys, that Dino actually was able to buy himself a Dino Ferrari. Yeah, and he was 16 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, he knew what he wanted to do, but he was an amazing guy.
Absolutely. Now you had mentioned flying. You're also an avid flyer yourself. You're a licensed pilot.
Yes, absolutely. And Dino is the one who got me interested in it because he would fly. We had a house in Palm Springs growing up, and he said, "Let's fly there. Let's not, drive." Okay. And so, because it was much faster to fly, and he would tell me about all the things, and tell me what to do in the checklist, and I would, I learned it all. And then years later, when I met my handsome husband John, who was a pilot, he said, "You know what? I'd love to, let's fly some places." And I said, "That would be great. I'd love to do that." And then he said, "Well, you know what? It would be good if something happens to me that you could land the plane." I said, "That would be good if I could land the plane." Yes, true. But they don't teach you just how to land a plane. You have to
Right.
learn how to, you become a pilot. And so we have a beautiful Cessna 310. The name of our plane is Volare, which means to fly in
Yeah,
Italian.
gotcha.
And yeah.
Now I'm an Italian guy myself, and I have to ask, whenever you get together, because I'm curious if this is for all Italian families, but is there a lot of food and stuff whenever you get together?
Yes. Oh yeah, Sunday nights, a dinner. And now imagine, I've got six brothers and sisters, so there's seven of us at the dinner table, mom and dad and my grandmother who grew up with us. And if we had a friend, we had a big dining room, but there was a lot of food. And the one thing that my grandmother taught me was how to make pasta visual.
No.
It was my dad's favorite. And because my middle name is Angela, she was my godmother, so I'm Deana Angela. And so she taught me how to make her pasta visual. She said, "Now don't tell anyone. You cannot tell your sisters. Don't tell anyone how to make it. And one day when I'm gone, this will be a connection of you and me and your dad." So, okay. So I watched her making it, with the olive oil and the onion and the whole thing. And years after she passed away, it was Christmas. And I thought, what am I going to get my dad for Christmas? Another V-neck cashmere sweater? No, he had them all. And then I thought about the pasta visual. So I went to the market, I got all the ingredients, I made it. It was perfect. It was good. Put it in a ball mason jar with a red ribbon, took it over to his house. When he looked at it, and I'll tell you, his eyes, the look in his eyes, he says, "Is this what I think this is? Is this the pasta visual?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "And it's still warm." So I ended up making that for him the rest of his life.
Wow.
And that was the connection. And it was great. Years later, I taught my sisters how to make it, and I put the recipe in the back of the book, so you have the recipe for pasta visual.
Every Christmas and Thanksgiving, we always have like lasagna and
Oh yeah,
or something Italian or something like that. I have to,
got to have something Italian,
yeah.
and the bread and and everything. But um, there was an interesting thing that my grandmother used to do, and I'll never forget, because I was small and I'm looking at the table. She had a little dish that was glass, and she would pour creme de menthe in it, cream de menthe in the bottom, and slice up a pineapple with a toothpick, with those pretty toothpicks with the
Yes.
little top little thing. And so she would put all of these little pineapples in the cream de menthe, and I would sit there and watch because it would soak up the cream de menthe. So by the end of dinner, they were all the oh my gosh, all the pineapple was green, and everyone could have a little one of those little things as a dessert with cream de menthe. So in fact, I've got to try it. Maybe for Christmas this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Share the recipe when you do it. Would love to.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Dina, I do definitely want to respect your time, and I know you got to get to rehearsal here, but I have one final question for you, and you've been more than kind with your time, so I deeply appreciate it. But is there any advice that your dad gave aspiring performers that he would share? I know times are a little bit different now, but
Yeah, it is. Well, but what he would tell me, first of all, is to treat people the way you want to be treated, and you'll never go wrong if you treat people the way you want to be treated. And then he would say, "Nadina, if you're going to go into this business," um, he said, "make sure you're always on time, never be late. Don't keep anyone, waiting for you. We're all in this together." And he said, "Now know all your lines. Make sure that you know all your lines and the lyrics to your songs if you're singing, and don't embarrass me. So, but the thing was, he meant know what you're supposed to do, be on time, and in kind of in such a way, and don't be a jerk. When people, have people say nice things about you, treat people the way you want to be treated, and you'll never go wrong. But always know all your lines, be early, never be late. And those are the things that my dad taught me.
Just to echo what you said, I remember Tom Hanks in a speech here, I think it was 2, 3 years ago. He said, sometimes actors are just have trouble with being on time. And I thought to myself, what?
Why?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, also, and some of them, think that they're too good for the rest of the group.
right.
But, I grew up in the theater. I did a lot of theater, and you cannot be late. If you're not there for a half hour, they deduct $50, knocking on your door, it's your 15-minute call, Miss Martin.
Right.
But if you weren't there, they deduct it, and we weren't paid that much, in the theater. So you knew that you always had to be on time. And my dad said, be early.
Absolutely. That's sound advice right there. So, but Deana,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. I hope that you come back sometime and continue talking about your dad, because I personally enjoyed this.
Oh, so did I. It was good. And it's always fun to talk about my dad, because he was just an incredible person, an incredible
Absolutely.
human being, and he was fun to be around. And of course, all my friends wanted to come to our house. Okay, because it was fun.
Absolutely. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But
So we
thank
had a
you.
good time. I enjoyed this very much, and you have a nice smile on your face, and it was good. I
Thank you
enjoyed
so
it.
much. I appreciate that.
All right, my dear. Thank you. See you next time.